hope that song has become your true official theme song of the G1 Climax 32 this year. I really do. I'm Mr. Warren Hayes. Welcome once again to another recap of more nights of action of the G1 Climax 32. We're talking about nights 11 and 12 here. Thank you very much for being here. That's a better song I'm not, look, this is what I'm trying to say here. I'm not crazy about the G1 Climax theme this year. I thought Max the Max last year with its Real Muscle Live and fighting with a real sword stuff, I thought that was epic. I thought that last year's theme was a hit. Now, Over the Max is what it's called. We haven't really talked about it. I don't think it's great. I think it's a net downgrade. So I propose that the theme song that I have for my recaps is actually truly your personal G1 Climax 32 theme that you carry, the anthem that carries you through the entire tournament. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Look, if this is the first time that you're dropping in, thank you so much. Consider subscribing if you're watching this on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. That would be very much appreciated, and also a like would be very much appreciated as well. And if you subscribe, well, you're going to make sure that you don't miss out on my coverage of the G1, and you'll also have the Mr. Warren Hayes show, which I record live every Thursday night. So that's pretty cool. So consider doing that, and if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, I appreciate that tremendously as well. Thank you very much. Add me to your feed, subscribe, follow, whatever it is you do on your specific app, and consider leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and a 5-star rating on Spotify. All that stuff helps out a great deal to grow the podcast. But look, enough of that stuff. We're going to get right into nights 11 and 12, which were an improvement from over the past couple of nights. If you listen to my nights 9 and 10 and even 7 and 8 recaps, I started calling it, I started calling the shows very mid. I thought they were very, very bland. So I wouldn't say uninteresting because the work has always been solid, but there was, a spark missing, something there that wasn't happening. It wasn't keeping me invested in the G1. But I would argue that night 11 and especially night 12 it got me going. It got me a little more into it. Like, look, let's get into it. I don't want to lump both in to the same boat here, because I think there is a distinct difference between night 11 and night 12. Let's get into it. Let's start talking about them individually instead of trying to give you the impression that these are both great, excellent nights of pro wrestling, because it's not exactly the case. Night 11 started off with Yujiro Takahashi, the Tokyo Pimp, defeating Juice Robinson. Sack of shit Yujiro beating Juice. And that is absolutely a surprise victory. That is, an upset. I don't know if it's an upset, but Juice beats Shingo in this tournament. Shingo Takagi, the best wrestlers on the planet, former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, was part of one of the greatest wrestling matches I've ever seen last year with Will Ospreay, and Juice fights this guy, beats him, but loses to the sack of shit Yujiro. And I thought I had figured this out with Juice's booking throughout this tournament, because he came in. Look, gimmick change, right? Rock hard Juice Robinson, right? We have the gimmick change that happens, right? we have him coming in with the, holding on to Will Ospreay's U.S. title, right? And like, oh, well, we're setting something up, right? Where there's definitely something on the way here that hasn't been that will be concluded later on. When you look at the schedule of things, Juice Robinson is fighting Will Ospreay on the last night of the tournament. So you're like, okay, so Juice is probably going to have a good tournament, but no, he's losing to Yujiro. And this whole thing that I thought we'd have going, that we'd have to, there'd be this storyline between him and Will. And I thought, oh, okay, so they're throwing, when Dave Finlay beat Juice, I was like, oh, so they're throwing Dave Finlay into the mix, so we're gonna, just some unpredictability. No! Juice is losing. Juice is lost. Like, he's actually the first guy to be eliminated from contention in D Block. His tournament's over. We'll talk about that later. But this was about as exciting as it sounds. Yujiro versus Juice. That's exactly what it was. Juice fights back against the House of Torture people, despite the fact that, they're all supposed to be in Bullet Club, but, House of Torture, they're a bunch of shitheads. Juice peels back the mat to try to pile drive Yujiro, but instead gets back body dropped. Yujiro hits a drop kick, the Fisherman's Buster, the Olympic slam, getting all the hits out of the way, like in a very, very, all within the same sequence. Juice goes for the juice box. He goes for the senton, but Yujiro lifts the knees. Sho is there, and he tries to brain Juice with the wrench. Juice grabs the wrench. It distracts the ref. There's a couple of ref bumps. And eventually, Yujiro gets the big Juice for the win. So, Yujiro Takahashi, 4 points. Right up there. Ridiculous. Then we got Taichi versus Chase Owens, where Taichi actually defeated Chase Owens in this match. This was fine. It was a fine little match. There were some interesting parts to this. Chase Owens tries to get Taichi to do some sumo at first, because Taichi does have that background, and Taichi obliges, but he eats a C trigger. Haha, sneaky Chase. Owens gets a Northern Lights suplex into a bridge and a big ass gut buster that Taichi sold like he had been eviscerated, like he landed on a real sword. It was good sell. But then Chase spends the better part of the match trying to get Miho Abe to kiss him on the cheek. I don't know, man. And then when she refuses, right, like as she should, he goes and he punishes Taichi for it. Taichi fights back, lands some kicks and a hook kick. Owens does combination strikes and the rebound lariat. Taichi gets back up, lands the axe bomber and the dangerous suplex. They go in and out of finishers until there's a throw by Taichi. Big elbow strike, Black Mephisto. Taichi wins. Even tries to get some form of retribution for Miho Abe at the end. Doesn't quite work out that way, but that was a fun match. It was fun. Taichi's still in it. He's not done yet. Then we have, and I'm not even talking about which blocks we're talking about. This was block B. Look at me. Welcome to my first recap ever of the G1 32. We're going to move on to some block C action this time around, where Tetsuya Naito defeated Aaron Hinari, and another great showing by Aaron Henare here, who is really showing off his offense. This is going to be, it has to be, at least by those who are actually watching the tournament. I think it has to be. I think part of the discussion here is Aaron Henare how he's making every one of his matches feel important. He's getting a ton of shine. His offense is coming across as clear, crisp, impactful, right? And New Japan are still, despite the fact that he's going to end the G1 with a losing record, they're still establishing him as a strong guy that can deliver the offense and absorb it as well. He's just he's not ready to change lanes just yet. He's not beating the top dudes just yet. We beat Hiroshi, Tanahashi. All right. But he's gonna get there. And this one, the more you see him wrestle, this guy's got such a bright future. He's such a good pro wrestler. Naito Hurricane Rana's Hinari to the floor, who tosses him into the rails and shoulder blocks him. Hinari does this great fake out kick into a punch that I really, really dig, because I still bite when I see it, which is great. He locks in an inside heel hook on Naito as well. One-legged drop kick by Naito and a pair of basement drop kicks follow. He hits a neck breaker on Hinari, of course, to soften him up for Destino. We know this by now. Avalanche Rana by Tetsuya Naito, who goes for a Destino. No, it's blocked and into a Berserker Bomb by Hinare. Naito at some point, he just slaps the teeth out of Hinare's mouth. And Hinari responds with a hell of a back kick. He hits his top rope senton, tries to go for Streets of Rage, but Naito reverses it into Destino. Strong match, like well wrestled, good stuff. The great showing of Aaron Hinari continues, and Tetsuya Naito climbing back up, going on an undefeated streak, on a winning streak, I should say, for Block C continues. I mean, at least I was able to predict this properly. After he took a couple of losses, no. Naito's running through the rest of the squad here. He's finishing on top. So the big comeback trail continues for Naito. Hinare, we'll talk about standings towards the end, but another good showing by Aaron Hinari here, who has nothing. He is one of the guys in this tournament that has nothing to be embarrassed about his G1, about his performance, about what he's put through so far. He's only got 2 matches left, but I feel confident in taking a stand here. I don't think his last 2 matches are suddenly going to become bullshit. There's guys who absolutely should be embarrassed about their tournament. Aaron Hinare is not one of them. We had the big boy match over in Block A, the one that a lot of people were excited to see. Jonah defeated Jeff Cobb in a bit of a surprise twist for me here. I was not expecting Jonah to pull this off. There's some test of strength from both guys as they shoulder block each other to the floor. Flying shoulder tackle by Jonah off the apron. And he kitchen sinks Jeff Cobb, once we're back in the ring. There's some chops, some strikes, lariats galore throughout this match. Pump handle, belly to back. Excuse me, let's try that again. Pump handle, belly to back suplex by Jeff Cobb. Not a pretty impressive feat of strength right there. The tour of the islands is interrupted by a spear by Jonah. Cobb catches Jonah off of a flying crossbody, which was just absolutely phenomenal. Running power slam by Jonah is reversed into a pin attempt. No, excuse me. Let me start that. Again, this is my first recap ever. Hello, everyone. So Jeff Cobb catches Jonah off of a flying crossbody, right? And he has him up on his shoulders, Jonah, and Jeff Cobb goes for a running power slam, and Jonah reverses it into a pin attempt. Just incredible stuff. And there's an incredible superplex by Jonah from both guys from the top rope. Just amazing stuff. Who lands after the torpedo for the win. Big win for Jonah here, who defeated Jeff Cobb, who, if I'm not mistaken, only loses to Kazuchika Okada in the G1, right? Huge. That's a huge statement win. But then, then it also makes sense to me in the way that the next match that Jonah has is against Kazuchika Okada. And Goto, bless his heart, he always likes to build Okada's opponents as they're coming in. It's like, oh, well, Jonah's coming off a big win against Jeff Cobb, who Kazuchika Okada also defeated, kind of thing. So it's like, ooh, so, this is not taking anything away from Jonah's win here, but this is clearly a win that was made to establish Jonah as a threat to Kazuchika Okada, because they'll be fighting in the upcoming over the next 2 nights of action. So, look, I thought this was a very entertaining big man match. I thought it was. I thought it was fun. Is it anything that I'd say go check this out? Absolutely, like go run and see it. No, but it's a match that that's very entertaining. And if you like to see big guys kick the shit out of each other, this is it here. And some impressive feats of strength. Good, like solid, good work throughout. I have nothing to complain about. And I still feel these two have a better one in them. And this is like what, the 4th time commentary was saying that Jeff Cobb and Jonah ever meet each other in one-on-one. It's a good one. And finally, the main event was Hiroshi Tanahashi defeating Evil. Now, okay. This is not a good professional wrestling match, okay? But it is a fun wrestling match nonetheless. But like, this is not your work rate special. This is a story, okay? And this is the match that, I'll point to whenever I hear people say, in Japan, they don't do stories. They always do stories. But I know what people mean when they say they don't do stories. Well, here's your story here. The story of good and evil. You have the hero, the ace of the universe, right? The people's hero, Hiroshi Tanahashi, overcoming all the odds of House of Torture by himself, doing it convincingly, athletically. Because it's one of those where House of Torture is just all over the place. But Tanahashi, he's the hero. He's the good guy. And he does everything he needs to do to pull out a win here. And I'll tell you one thing. I'm going to take a sip of coffee just before I do, as if I'm not hyped up enough. I'm going to tell you this. When we talk about Hiroshi Tanahashi being one of the greatest of all time, one of the greatest to ever do it, because of his athleticism, that's one thing. But when you look at what he did here, in this fucking match, there is no doubt in my mind that this guy is one of the greatest to ever do it, because he is a fantastic wrestler, and still to this day, despite his injuries, despite his age, he can still go. But he has incredible showmanship, unparalleled charisma. This match, the structure of this match would not have worked. The structure would have worked. But this match, the end result of this match would not have worked as well as it did if it had been anyone else than Hiroshi Tanahashi in that spot. I sincerely believe that. You would have put Okada in that same spot, wouldn't have delivered in the same way. Naito, not the same way. Anyone else, not in how this was structured, not how this was planned out. This hinged on the ability of Hiroshi Tanahashi to make us believe, to reinforce the fact that he is our hero. This is why, you know, a lot of people in North America, to make a close comparison, will say he's the John Cena of New Japan. There you, right then and there. Except he knows more wrestling moves than John Cena. Now, I'm talking about this match as if it was just like a story, you know, just like the story. But no, there were wrestling, there were holds. You know, but the story here, the absolute story is Hiroshi Tanahashi overcoming all the bad guys all by himself. And you know what? They even managed to rope me in at one point, right? Because at one point, he's doing dragon screw leg whips, just over and over and over again on Evil, right? Just like one after another, after another, after another. And then he locks into cloverleaf, right? Because he's like, I fucked up your legs enough, I'm gonna make you submit. So he locks into cloverleaf. Evil is struggling, trying to get to the ropes. Tana sits down for more pressure, right? And as he does, the bell rings. And the camera angle is positioned in a way where you see Hiroshi Tanahashi in the hold. And that's pretty much it. You don't see Evil, you don't quite see the ref, and the bell rings. And I'm like, holy shit! But the ref is like, and Hiroshi Tanahashi releases the hold, and he's like, yeah, I won. But the ref is like, no, I didn't call it. It's fucking Dick Togo on the outside who rang the bell, but rang the bell exactly like the timekeeper would. Not like ding, 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 you know. He goes, ding, 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 just like the match would end. It sounded a perfect simile of a match ending. And I'm out of my seat. And I'm like, I jump out of my seat for some House of Torture bullshit. I'm like, what's going on? It's Togo who does it. Everyone, there's confusion. Everyone's pissed off. The referee tosses Togo. He's like, hit the bricks. Get the fuck out of here. And then from this point on, I'm like, let's fucking go. I'm into it. They got me. But I promise you, anyone else would not have garnered that same type of reaction. I would have groaned the whole fucking way, but I was like, destroy them, Tana, go for it. You have my permission to end these men. And the match continues. There's a high fly flow. He covers Evil, but Sho drags the ref out. And then we have ref bumps all over the place. We have Dick Togo coming back to the ring, dragging a ref. They try to get one up over Hiroshi Tanahashi. There's like 4 dead refs at some point at ringside. Like the entire referee locker room was emptied out for this match. And I promise you, most circumstances I'd be here, you know, rapping my desk and going, this fucking shit, this is not how I watch New Japan, but this worked. Hiroshi Tanahashi blocks an Everything Is Evil attempt and gets the pin in a ground cobra. Fucking fantastic. It's not going to be on anyone's match of the year list. No one's. For sure. But this was a blast of a main event. Hiroshi Tanahashi constantly needs to be in the conversation for greatest of all time. That's what happens. This is why, you know, certain wrestling companies are like, we're going to do all these stories and we're going to put these wrestlers here and they're going to get heat and we're going to have good baby faces. But if you don't have the talent to make these stories work, they're going to come off as awkward and cringe and it's just not going to work. I'm telling you, anyone else but Tanahashi in this position would not have worked. It worked because he's a world-class talent. He is a top-tier professional wrestler, one of the greatest to ever do it. A guy who is so perfectly well-rounded. A guy who you build a promotion around. No wonder when Inokiism failed and New Japan wasn't able to drag themselves back up. No wonder they put the entire promotion on this guy's shoulders. Because he did it. He dragged New Japan out of the mud. And when you see things like this, there's no question why. The guy's marvelous. That being said, there's really no matches to recommend to go back and see on Night 11. It's weird, right? But like, go check it out if you want to have a good time. But I mean, there's no required viewing here. And Cobb and Jonah's fine. It's good. You know, I think if you've seen their, by any stretch of the imagination, their PWG match, I think you get a pretty good idea. But Jeff Cobb has improved so much since 2019 that I'd probably have to go back and watch it myself. Look, 2 matches may be worth your while, but I'm not outright recommending them. Otherwise, everything is skippable on Night 11. But now, let's go to Night 12, which happened today as I'm recording this on August 6th at the Osaka Prefectural Gymnasium. What do they call it now? The Aidon Arena. But it's Osaka Prefectural Gymnasium over in Osaka, of course. And this one started off hot. Now this is a night of G1 action. Straight off the bat, without me even going further into any matches, this is a night of pro wrestling that you sit down and you enjoy. Everything here is recommendable. You watch the entire thing. Started off hot with Yoshi-Hashi defeating El Phantasmo. And when I say it started off hot, I wasn't surprised. ELP has been on the back burner for 11 days at this point. This is his third match of the G1, and we're in the final stretch here. We're on night 12. There's 6 nights of action left. So he was hungry. You could tell. Yoshi-Hashi, he's the very definition of being hungry. This is the guy who's the penultimate underdog. The guy who no one gives a second thought about, yet is having another great G1. Phantasmo pokes the eye early on, but Yoshi-Hashi hits a headhunter. There's a head scissors by ELP and the Asai moonsault, which is just fantastic. Commentary sort of gushed over it, but I've gushed over it before, and I'm going to continue gushing over it. It's a beautiful, beautiful Asai moonsault. We're talking Io Shirai beauty. When I see that, that's what I see. ELP goes for the springboard swanton, but Yoshi-Hashi lifts the knees, get a back body drop by Yoshi-Hashi, a drop kick by ELP, and a springboard crossbody. He goes for the CR2, but it gets reversed into a roll-up by Yoshi-Hashi. ELP comes back, tries to go for the UFO. It's blocked. ELP runs the ropes, and Yoshi-Hashi's ready for him. Drop kicks the knees. We get some chops by Yoshi-Hashi, then sends ELP to the floor. A somersault cannonball over the top rope by Yoshi-Hashi as well, who's not necessarily known for his high flying, so that's pretty dope. Palm strikes and enzigiri by Yoshi-Hashi as well. Crucifix and a scoop slam by ELP. A dragon suplex by Yoshi-Hashi. Then ELP hits the sudden death, and the UFO connects. He goes to the top rope from the Thunder Kiss 86 from all the fucking way, all the way over there. Over there. All the way there. He flew 3/4 across the ring. And a beautiful splash, is it? Jesus. Yoshihashi fights back, though. Hits a thrust kick, a lariat, Kumagoroshi, Canadian Destroyer, and hits Karma for the win. Fast pace, great wrestling, just good stuff, good urgency from everyone here. And this is what I needed to feel in this match. Because Yoshi-Hashi was at 2 points. His tournament's coming to an end because he has just a couple of matches left. We'll talk about the standings in a bit, but he's only got a handful of matches left in a block that is still very open. Scores are still very even all over the place. El Phantasmo, he's coming back after being, on break, and he's seeing how things are playing out. He needs wins too. So you got that sense of urgency. You felt like these 2 points mattered. And that's what I was talking about over the past 2 recap shows. Make me feel like these matches matter, and this one did. Great stuff, a great fucking opener to kick this one off. Then we had an A-block match. Lance Archer defeated Torujano. Probably my favorite Yano match of the G1. This was a lot of fun. And Archer was just having a good time in this one, going along, taking part in the shenanigans. Yano does the chicken shit thing where he's like, I don't want to fight the big man, Archer does the somersault cannonball off the apron onto some young lions. So then Yano uses that opportunity to tape Lance Archer to his wrist, to the wrist of a young lion, but they're through a barricade. So the young lion's on the other side of the barricade. But when Archer sort of regains consciousness and sees what happened, he pulls the young lion through the uprights of the barricade, of the rail. And I'm like, that's fantastic. This is great. This is absolutely, like, Archer doesn't give a fuck. He's like dragging the kid through. The kid slides through. They get back into the ring. He does a double clothesline with the young lion, then untapes himself, and he scoops and dumps the young lion onto Yano. And it was a nice little highlight. I thought that was fun, very creative, and very much in Lance Archer's psychology, right? Where he's like, oh, you tape me up with this kid? Hang on. You think I can't get him through this barricade? Bet. Oh, the turnbuckles are exposed in this match. Archer eats a low blow, but he's able to land the blackout for the win nonetheless. So Lance Archer at 4 points. Again, not a match of the year thing, but extremely... This was absolutely my favorite Yano match of the tournament. Next, we had Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Hirooki Goto. Good top-tier pro wrestling match from some top-tier pro wrestlers. And had the heart, had the passion, had the energy here. Because Goto and Sabre going into this tied at 4. So again, you're making me feel like these points are important. Hirooki Goto, he's not a moron. He knows how important this is, and he knows right now he's having one of his better G1s in recent memory. And he's right within reach of the number 1 spot here. So he's been, honestly, I find Goto's been bringing his top level game throughout all this tournament. And Zack Sabre Jr., man, he's just incredible. He's a tournament master in New Japan at this point. He's extremely dangerous in tournament settings. Goto gets some early offense in and locks in a chin lock. And here's what Zack Sabre Jr., man, right? What would a typical wrestler do? You know a chin lock, and you know what? The wrestler grabs the chin like this, wraps his fingers, locks the fingers around the chin and pulls back. What does a regular wrestler do? Regular wrestler will go, What does Zack Sabre Jr. do? He grabs the thumbs. The fingers are locked in like this, and the thumbs are on each side of on either cheek, on either side of the mouth. Zack Sabre Jr. grabs the thumbs and he starts, he's like yanking at them a bit. But then Goto yanks back on the neck, so Zack goes, fuck! Little small things like that. That's the kind of shit that puts wrestling over for me. That then I sit down and when I'm looking at the match, I'm like, all right, I'm invested. Let's go. Little things like that. Sabre reverses out of a Nushigoroshi attempt and gets some rope-assisted submissions on Goto. On the floor, he kicks Goto's arm in the rails and stomps the elbow on the floor. And back in the ring, he's going after the arm. He's working the arm. European uppercuts by Zack Sabre Jr. as well. Goto fires back up. Big striking exchange between them both. That ends with Sabre getting in an abdominal stretch, which is reversed into a reverse GTR by Hirooki Goto, who comes back with some open hand strikes and a headbutt. He goes for a Ushigoroshi. Zack Sabre Jr. transitions it into a guillotine, but Goto gets out of it and into a Ushigoroshi that connects this time. There's some fun back and forth with some quick one count attempts between them both. Just really dynamic stuff that you should check out. Crossbreaker attempt by Zack Sabre Jr. Goto does the solo Shoto. That's how I'm going to call it when he's not doing it with Yoshi-Hashi. So the solo Shoto, but his arm hurts, man. Like, he did it, but he hurt his arm a little more. What are you going to do? So when Zack Sabre Jr. locks in a dangling arm breaker, it becomes a problem. And while he has this arm breaker, right? The arm is hurting, right? Goto starts kicking his head, Zack Sabre Jr.'s head. Zack Sabre Jr., being the mind that he is, instead of just staying there and like releasing, no, he transitions out of the dangling submission into this tight arm breaker situation where Goto instantly taps. And we're done. Zack Sabre Jr. wins with the move that he referred to as the South Mims Services. I'd have. Let's take a look. What is South Mims? South Mims is a village and civil parish in the Hertsmere district of Hertfordshire in the east of England. It's a small settlement. There's like 855 people who live there. And then there's actually a thing. We're discovering things as we go along here. And then there's actually what shops are at South Mims Services? There's actually a question for this. And here are the shops that are at South Mims Services, okay? Starbucks, KFC, Burger King, Waitrose and Partners. There's a Starbucks drive-through on, I don't know if it's on top of the Starbucks or if it's, but they're both separate. WH Smith, Subway, Krispy Kreme. There's a Krispy Kreme in South Mims at the South Mims Services. A Good Breakfast, a Game Zone, and a Pizza Express. All right, you ready for this? South Mims, absolute destination. Fucking, of course, Zack Sabre Jr. would focus on something like that where it's all like these big brand, corporate food outfits. Anyway, he won this match, so Zack Sabre Jr. up at 6. Tying with Hiroshi Tanahashi. So we'll talk again. Hang on, Warren. We'll talk about the standings in a bit. I know you're excited. Good match. Like a super good match. Just some great stuff. And then you want to continue down this train of really good pro wrestling. Fun matches. Good work. Jay White defeated the Great Okan. God, I enjoyed this. And yes, I'm a Jay White guy. I probably enjoy Jay White matches more than the regular wrestling fan, but I thought Jay White was stellar in this match. And he starts by stalling like he often does, because Great Okan's on the mat and he's like, come grapple, and Jay White's in the ropes and he's like, I don't know what he's doing. He's telling the refs, tell him to go away. I don't know what he's doing. Great Okan gets in control early on. He whips Jay White into the rails. Gato starts sniffing around long enough to give Jay White the upper hand. And he goes for Great Okan's leg, and he will not relent on Great Okan's leg. Back in the ring, Jay White hits a gut-wrench overhead suplex. No, excuse me, this is Great Okan who hits a gut-wrench overhead suplex. But leg is bad. The leg hurts. So what does Jay White do? Dragon screws. And he hits a blade buster. That's the spinning suplex thing that he does. He chop blocks Great Okan, as Great Okan tries to mount some offense. Great Okan rushes in at Jay White, who greets him with a flatliner, followed by the deadlift German, a Uranagi. Jay White is in control of this match. Control. There's a sudden belly-to-belly by Great-O-Khan, who tries to mount offense, but Jay White goes right back to the leg, locks in the TTO, the Tanahashi tapped out. Great-O-Khan finally gets some Mongolian chops in, a throat thrust, more Mongolian chops. He lifts Jay White, who reverses the lift into a sleeper suplex. A Blade Runner attempt is reversed into the Sheep Killer, which is probably the spot of the match where Jay White is in the most trouble. White avoids the Eliminator, tries to break out of a claw. He kicks the arms, breaks out of the claw, but he eats a straight right punch by Great-O-Khan, who locks in the claw again, but Jay White reverses into the Blade Runner and covers, even though Great-O-Khan is still, he's knocked out, but he's still holding on with the claw, and Jay White is like, ugh. Great match that, you know what, here's the thing. I think we're past the era, and regardless as to whether or not I'm a Jay White fan or not, I think we're past the era of, you know, Jay White matches are boring, they're always the same thing, because he showed so much versatility and energy in this match. He has been evolving and changing and improving his style. And he's been wrestling like a world champion. I'm sorry, he really, really has. And with all the flair that he has as well, that innate heel energy that he gives off, this was very, very good. Now he wins. He's at 8 points. Great-O-Khan lost another match in the G1, where again, look, this goes to show you should never listen to what I say about the G1. Because I was like, oh, they're going to make Great-O-Khan, a big part of it. You know, he's probably going to have a really good tournament, and he's going to have some moments to shine. Not really. And if anything, this match was a bit of a. I think Goto showed his hand a little bit here, where he's like, our boy Great-O-Khan, he's, as much as everyone likes him, booking wise right now, he's not ready to change lanes. Because Great-O-Khan got owned by Jay White in this match. This was a Jay White match. Great-O-Khan struggled through it. But Jay White was in control of this match with such insignificant interventions by Goto. Like, the message here is clear. This is not Great-O-Khan's time. Jay White is the guy. He's the world champion. Great-O-Khan is not ready to come hang with the world champion. That's the message I got here. Does that mean he sucks? That he's going to be relegated back down to prelims and whatnot? No. I think they're really high on Great-O-Khan nonetheless. But the G1 is not for him. And the title right now feels out of his grasp. It feels like he's not ready for it. I'm cool. Let's follow that. We'll follow that. But what a good match. Just great stuff. And I honestly think people who will not like this match, or who will be a little more down on it than I am, are legitimately people who just don't like Jay White. And will try to find fault with it just when they could just outright say, I really don't care for Jay White. And I think that's the situation here, because this was perfectly done. Impeccable stuff. And then we get to the main event where Shingo Takagi defeated Will Ospreay. This match fucking ruled. And of course it did, because these two guys are amazing in the ring against each other. I will always be excited to see Shingo and Will go at it. I will always be excited. These are two guys that could carry New Japan. If New Japan were to lose Tanahashi, Okada, and Naito, it'd be in good hands with these two dudes. Some great back and forth in this match here that has my blood pumping from the get-go. Like, sometimes you just know. You see how a match starts and you're like, oh, brother, this is going to rule. And it did. Shingo Takagi gets a kitchen sink in and a suplex. He hits a DDT on Will, who pops right up, propels Shingo to the floor, hits a pescado. Ospreay then hits an over-the-knee backbreaker. Shingo with the combination strikes, knocks down Will Ospreay. Big body drop, back body drop by Shingo as well. He lariats Shingo up and over, not Shingo, but Will up and over the top rope. Shingo hits a big twisting suplex. Some back and forth is reversed into a stun dog millionaire by Will Ospreay. Oscutter's interrupted. Will Ospreay's on Shingo's shoulders off of this interruption. Will flips off of it, goes for a standing body splash, but Shingo gets his knees up. And they have this outstanding exchange of going back and forth, running the ropes, lariats, Germans, kicks, which all ends with Will Ospreay hitting a rolling kick to the head. Just things that make me make sounds while I'm watching pro wrestling. Super Spanish fly by Will Ospreay, who goes for the hidden blade, but it's caught by Shingo, who goes into an arm breaker and an arm snap. Shingo continues working the arm, the hidden blade arm, runs the ropes. Springboard by Will Ospreay, caught by Shingo into a cutter. Then he gets right back up into hits a Death Valley driver on Will, covers. Will kicks out. So what does Shingo do? Runs the ropes, pumping bomber. And if I sound excited talking about it, it's because it was exciting to watch. Shingo goes for Made in Japan, gets a little cheeky, decides to reverse it into a Stormbreaker attempt, which Ospreay reverses out of and into a Made in Japan himself. So, which Chris Charlton emphatically called a Made in England. Ospreay hits an Os cutter. Shingo hits a poison Rana. Will goes for the hidden blade. It connects, but he can't cover Shingo because his arm is in pain. Hook kicks by Will Ospreay. Running Spanish fly then by Ospreay as well. Shingo ducks another hidden blade, hits a lariat instead. Dragon suplex, pumping bomber, last of the dragon. How about that for an exclamation mark victory? Just hit all his big moves, puts Ospreay away. This match ruled. Highly recommended. You should absolutely take the time out of your day to go watch this match. Was it as great as their match of the year that they had last year in 2000? Yes, last year in 2021. But was it in May or in June? I can never remember. It's either in May or in June. No, that match was one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. Is this even a match of the year? Not for Warren. I think it's right up there, but it just missed a little gear for a match of the year thing. This was great, though. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to downplay it. Overall, night 12, if you've got an hour and 30 minutes out of your day and you're like, I want to watch some world-class, top-tier professional wrestling, you got it right here. Watch the block matches. It's a good show. It's a good professional wrestling show. And we were overdue in this G1 to get a good professional wrestling show. One that made you feel shit, that got you out of your seat. It has a fantastic main event and good stuff everywhere in between. I would dare say, best night of the G1 so far. Let's head to the standings. First, A block. Well, things haven't really budged all that much. We just have a larger field of people at 4 points. Kazuchika Okada still at 6 points. We have Jeff Cobb, Fale, Archer, and Jonah all tied at 4. Tom Lawler is at 2 points. Torujano is eliminated. I called the elimination on my last recap show. Look, there's going to be the question. Look, the main question that we have here is anyone going to spoil Okada? He has Lance Archer, Tom Lawler, and Jonah left. He's fighting Jonah next. Like I said, there is a reason why Jonah went over Jeff Cobb, who only loses in the G1 to Kazuchika Okada, and that was to establish Jonah as a guy who can beat Kazuchika Okada. Now, will he actually beat Kazuchika Okada? They certainly made a case for it here on night 12, or no, night 11. Excuse me. They made a case for it because if Jonah can beat the guy who only loses to Kazuchika Okada, there's a fair chance that he can maybe muscle his way up. So I think that if anyone is going to spoil Okada, it might be Jonah. I don't think it's going to be Lance Archer. I don't think it's going to be Tom Lawler either. I'm pretty sure Kazuchika Okada is going to finish at the top of the block. There's possibilities for intrigue still. Jeff Cobb only has 2 losses at this. Like, here's the thing. Fale, Archer, and Cobb, they all have 2 matches left. Jonah has 3. He's 2-1, essentially, as opposed to everyone else who's 2-2. Jonah still could come out, could come forward here and be a little more of a factor, add a little more intrigue. If I'm Goto, I'm having him beat Okada on the next night just to add some intrigue here. Because then he'll be at 6 alongside Okada and he'll have the tiebreaker over Okada, which puts Okada in a position where he absolutely has to defeat Lance Archer and Tom Lawler if he wants to win the block. And then Jonah could also go forward in the block. He could position himself as a winner, and if he wins his 2 other matches, even if he ties with Kazuchika Okada, he has the tiebreaker. Like, that is probably the most interesting scenario he could come up with at this point. I don't think anyone else is going to be that much of a factor. I'm pretty sure. Look, if Okada wins against Jonah, he's ending the tournament. If Okada gets 8 points, Tom Lawler's tournament is over. Lance Archer's tournament is over. Bad Luck Fale's tournament is over. Like, no one will be able to catch up. And Okada will have tiebreakers over everyone. He'll have essentially killed the block, which is why I think he might lose. Now, the more I'm talking about it, he might lose. I still think he might run the gamut here, but he also might lose against Jonah, who was set up as a perhaps Okada killer. Well, you know what I mean. Not an Okada killer. You know what I mean. Let's head over to B block. Jay White is all the way up there with a perfect record of 8 points right now. He's 4-0. Tama Tonga, Sanada, and Taichi all at 4 points. And I am calling it. Chase Owens, Great-O-Khan, they're done. I think mathematically, this 8-point lead that Jay White has this perfect record that Jay White has right now has effectively killed Chase Owens and Great-O-Khan's tournament. Great-O-Khan has 2 matches left on his schedule. So even if he wins them, he can't. He's not going to beat. So he only has a possibility of 6 points. Same thing with Chase Owens. He has only a possibility of 6 points, even if he wins his 2 next matches. Ishii, we called it the last time. He's done. He's toast. Even if he catches up to Jay White has the tiebreaker. So as it stands right now, Taichi, Tama Tonga, and Sanada are the only ones that have openings. I think Sanada is, of those 3, Sanada is the one who is in greater danger because he is 2-2. He only has 2 matches left. He absolutely has to win the next 2 matches, even if he wants to be considered in contention. And that would also mean that Jay White has to lose his next 2 matches. But even so, you know what? I'm looking at this right now because even if Jay White, we're going to eliminate Sonata here. As I'm talking about it, I hadn't seen this when I was putting my notes together. This is one scenario that I hadn't seen. But Jay White right now, as we said, he has a perfect 8 points, and he's already beaten Sonata. Sonata is he's 4-2. He's 2-2, excuse me, and he has 2 matches left. So even if he wins both, and Jay White loses his 2 other matches, Jay White has the win over Sonata. Sonata's toast. Sonata's done. Sonata's tournament is done. He cannot win B block. Now, the interesting thing here is that Taichi and Tama Tonga have not fought Jay White yet, and they both have 3 matches left. So there is still some intrigue here up top. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the next match that these guys have is against each other. Yeah, Taichi and Tama Tonga on night 14. So that will unquestionably give us a bit of a direction here as to what might happen. Because whoever out of Tama Tonga and Sonata, Tama Tonga and Taichi wins in this scenario where Sonata is out, whoever wins between Tama Tonga and Taichi is the only person that will have a chance at winning B block over Jay White. Because Jay White's 2 last matches are against Taichi and Tama Tonga. Taichi and Tama Tonga have to fight each other, and they both have to fight the Great Khan and Jay White. So there's an interesting amount of drama here. It's a 3-guy scenario here. Sonata's out. You see the X's over the names, but you know, I'll add it for the next one. Sonata's done. This is a 3-man block now. I'm sure there's some wacky, you know, connect the dots kind of thing, super scenarios where you know Sonata might be able to pull off a win in the block here. But no, I don't know. There's no way he can. I'm just revisiting in my head, but no. Jay White has 8 points right now. Sonata has 2 more matches left. If Sonata wins his next 2 matches and Jay White loses his next 2 matches and ties, Jay White still wins because he has the tiebreaker on Sonata. He's already beaten him. B block is looking more and more like indeed Jay White is moving forward. But a little come from behind surprise babyface comeback from Tama Tonga? Sure, I think it'd work. I'm very interested in what Block B has in store for us right now. Let's move over to Block C, where unfortunately I'm calling the tournament for Aaron Henare. I think he's done. He's got 2 more matches left. So even if he scores them, he gets 6 points. There's no way he's pulling forward anymore. I think he's toast. Aaron Henare, despite the fact that he fought for every point he has, fought hard. His tournament's done. I'm calling it. Hiroshi Tanahashi and Zack Sabre Jr. are up there at 6 points apiece, and they are both at 3-1. The main difference here, we must not forget, is that Hiroshi Tanahashi, technically speaking, is leading the block because he holds the tiebreaker over Zack Sabre Jr. Hirooki Goto and Tetsuya Naito are in at 4 points apiece. They both have they're both at 2-2. Their next matches are going to be the next match is going to be Look, mathematically, Hirooki Goto's not out, mathematically speaking. But I think his tournament is done because Naito's moving forward. And even if he stays at 6 points and Tanahashi stays at 6 points, and Naito has the tiebreaker on Goto, so we're good. Because Tetsuya Naito, like I said, and I've been saying for since his second loss, he's doing the comeback. He's doing the streak, the victory streak. He's winning the block. He's winning the block. Tanahashi's going to take another loss or two. What does Tanahashi have left? Goto and Kenta. I absolutely see Kenta spoiling Tanahashi. I think that's what they're going to do. I think Kenta is going to spoil Tanahashi's chance at winning the block because Tanahashi has the tiebreaker over Naito. So I think that's what's going to be the story, and you're going to have Zack Sabre Jr. looming around there. Zack Sabre Jr. and Naito is also a match that's going to happen. Let's not forget, and that's on the last night. And that's going to be a critical one. It's going to be a 3-man race here with Evil acting as spoiler on Hiroshi Tanahashi. I absolutely see it. Speaking of Kenta, he's down at 2 points. Kenta still has 3 matches left under his belt, so mathematically he's not done, but I don't think he's going to be a factor in the tournament. And Evil as well has 3. He has 2 points. He's 1 and 2, and also mathematically could still be in it, but I don't see him really being a factor outside of being a spoiler. He has Goto, Zack Sabre Jr., and Henare left. At the very least, he's going to lose to Zack Sabre Jr. because I think Zack Sabre Jr. is going to stay in the upper tier so that the Naito match on the final night of block action stays interesting. Again, I still think the path is clear here to a Tetsuya Naito win. And the absolute nonsense that is Block D, what? It still could be anyone's race here. Outside of Juice Robinson, I'm calling it. He's done. He's got 2 matches left. And he only holds a win over Shingo. He's 1 and 3. Yujiro, YOSHI-HASHI, and Dave Finlay all hold wins over Will. So even if he were to win his last 2 matches, let's pull out this scenario here, this highly improbable scenario. Let's say he wins his next 2 matches, which are against El Phantasmo and Will Ospreay, mind you. Let's say he gets his 6 points, and Dave Finlay loses his next 2 matches and stays at 6 points. Dave still has the tiebreaker over Juice. Juice is toast. Juice is done. So weird. So weird. Because I was convinced that they were going to give him the push, the gimmick change, the Bullet Club thing, the US title thing. There was so much stuff weighted in Juice's favor to have a driven G1. But they just swept it all away. It's like, no, we're good. Strange as fuck. I don't think anyone saw that coming. Definitely didn't see Dave Finlay being at top of the D block. Absolutely not. But Dave having a great G1, having one of the best matches of his career against said rock hard Robinson man. And everyone else, Will Ospreay, Yujiro, Shingo, Yoshi-Hashi, all tied for 4 points. Yeah, Dave Finlay. That's another one I don't think anyone saw coming. But I still think, right now the intrigue is that there's a lot of people at 4 points. Dave is up there, and it's still pretty much anyone's ball game, including Yujiro for some reason. But look, most of the people here still have, who have 4 points or are tied, still have 2 matches. Ospreay has 2 matches. Shingo has 2 matches. Here's the thing. YOSHI-HASHI, who, by the way, I think this is what was pointed out in commentary, this is his first G1 where he scores, where he gets 2 wins, where he has 4 points. So good on him. And he still has 3 matches left. El Phantasmo has 3 matches left, which is why I haven't counted him out yet, if only because he has the tiebreaker win over Will Ospreay, which could be meaningful, but honestly, I don't think that. No, he doesn't have the win over Ospreay. What am I talking about? Ospreay defeated him. Apologies. I don't think ELP is going to be a factor, but he still has 3 matches left. So mathematically speaking, he still could come back. But Yujiro has Shingo and YOSHI-HASHI left. I can't see Yujiro getting a win over Shingo, especially after the match that Shingo just had. Shingo has also a match against El Phantasmo as well. So El Phantasmo could end up being a spoiler. I still think we're getting Will Ospreay, who is going to win this block. I think he has, he has his final match against Juice Robinson on the last night of block action, and I think that's significant. Dave Finlay, he has 2 matches left. He has the tiebreaker, the tiebreaker over Will, but he has ELP and YOSHI-HASHI left. I think YOSHI-HASHI, look, I don't think Dave is going to win both of his matches. I think he might win one, but I think Ospreay's winning both. Well, Dave can't even win. Or are we really getting Dave Finlay winning the block? Is that really what's going to happen here? Because, look, if Ospreay wins both of his matches, he'll be at 8 points. If Dave Finlay only wins one of his 2 last matches, he'll be at 8 points. Dave has the tiebreaker on Will. So there is an absolute possibility, a true to form possibility that Dave Finlay could win the block here. He has to lose both of his next matches. He has to lose to ELP. He has to lose to YOSHI-HASHI. To lose the block. Even if he wins one, he has he holds a win over Shingo. On top of that, he is in an he only needs to win one match to win the block, so that his closest competition have nothing against them. And if that guy is YOSHI-HASHI, he's golden. If Dave Finlay, I was going to call him Fit, if Dave Finlay defeats YOSHI-HASHI, we have to significantly consider Dave Finlay winning the D block and reversing all of our predictions that it was going to be Will Ospreay. That's just where we're at now. So we're getting the intrigue. Now it's getting good, but God, it took us a while to get here. It took us 12 nights of action before we're starting to, okay, all right. And one block, which is effectively a 3-man thing, and B block between Jay White, Tamatanga, and Taichi. And it's the opposite in D block. Everything is open. Very, very, very interesting stuff moving forward here. Well, look, let's preview the next 2 nights of action. The next night, night 13, August 7, happening tomorrow as I'm recording this on the Sunday. Still from Osaka. We're going to get a C block match of Evil versus Aaron Henare. Block A match of Bad Luck Fale versus Tom Lawler. Block D is going to be represented by El Phantasmo versus Juice Robinson. Tomohiro Ishii versus Chase Owens in the B block, a match that has absolutely no significance on the outcome of B block whatsoever. And the main event is another A block match, Kazuchika Okada versus Jonah. That's going to be the one to watch. I think that if they, like I said, if they want to add some kind of drama to A block, this is the match that you want Okada to lose. Night 14 is going to be happening on Tuesday, August 9th, from the Hiroshima Sun Plaza in Hiroshima. Yujiro Takahashi versus YOSHI-HASHI for the D block. That's going to be a significant match, nonetheless. Despite the sack of shit being involved, it's going to be a significant match for the block. Sonata versus Chase Owens, which is going to have no impact on B block. Another B block match of Taichi versus Tama Tonga. That's going to be a big one to watch. Block A match of Lance Archer versus Jonah. If Jonah pulled off the win on Kazuchika Okada, you're going to want to keep your eyes on this one. And in the main event, Block C match, Kenta versus Tetsuya Naito. I'm convinced Naito continues down his winning ways. And then I'll be back on Tuesday for another double night recap of the G1 32. Hope you guys enjoyed this recap. If you did, leave a like, leave some comments. Tell me what you're enjoying about the G1 so far. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you for tuning in, watching, listening, and we'll see you next time.